First of all, how are you? What a good-looking group. Thank you. I'm elated to be here. Thank you. I know it's a holiday for many of you, so thanks for taking the time. We just had a amazingly interesting and satisfactory meeting with the president and his team, for which President Trump, Secretary Rubio, and myself are unbelievably grateful for the speed, the thoughtfulness, the considered tone of a response to our suggestions. This is a very interesting time for Lebanon. It's a very interesting time in the region. And you covering all of the aspects of what's in this very difficult zip code know more than anything that there's an opportunity. There's an opportunity in the air. And nobody's better than the Lebanese at choosing these opportunities all over the world, right? We always talk about it, and I'm a product of that system. I was saying you go anywhere in the world and there's a desert, you put one Lebanese in the middle of that desert and there'll be an oasis. But for some reason, we can't do it at home, which is mind-boggling, right? But it's time. It's time. The region is changing. Everything is moving at warp speed. All of the countries around us are changing, are morphing. You have a president of the United States who has committed to saying that he has great respect for Lebanon, that he's behind it, and he wants to help in peace and prosperity. I don't think there's been that kind of remark since Dwight Eisenhower. Most of you weren't born in that era. So we're hopeful, we're grateful, and I'm here to answer any questions that you have.
Yeah, Mr. براك, were you convinced by the Lebanese response concerning the disarmament of Hezbollah, and was it clear for you?
Look, I'm grateful for the Lebanese response. Quite honestly, I got it 45 minutes ago. So it's thoughtful, it's considered. We're creating a go-forward plan. To create that, we need dialogue. What the government gave us was something spectacular. In a very short period of time, in a very complicated manner, I'm unbelievably satisfied with the response. Now what it takes is a parry and thrust to the details, which we're going to do. We're both committed to get to the details and get a resolution. So I'm hopeful. I'm very, very hopeful. The president put a great team on it. The entire government is behind that approach. Of course, the complexity of all of this is massive. But at the end of it, it's simple. Is everybody tired of what's gone on for the last 60 years? And I think the answer is absolutely yes. So to put all that aside and to say now we have a new architecture, but we have to grab it now. And everybody's going to have to give up something. But you give up something of a hope and expectation of an illusion of the adversarialness that we've had internally. We can handle the outside world right now. I mean, that's the opportunity, is all what we thought were enemy combatants or problems or troubles can subside. And you can get support from the world to do that. It has to start from within. And this is all of your challenge.
You have asked Lebanon to get the chance offered to them. There will be another chances for Lebanon, and how are you going to deal with the Hezbollah position who refused to hand in his arms to the Lebanese government?
Well, the good news for the U.S. is we don't intend to deal with it. We intend for you to deal with it. So this is not a situation of the United States coming in and saying, let us tell you we want regime change. Let us tell you we're unhappy with one of your largest political parties. Let us tell you that we're unhappy with the religious sectarianism that goes on in the country. None of that is true. What we're doing is saying, you want change, and we'll be there to support you. If you don't want change, it's no problem. The rest of the region is moving at Mach speed, and you will be left behind. Sadly, you will be left behind. And this is really the message. It's the message from Secretary Rubio. It's the message from President Trump. It's the message from the world. Is come on, get with it. You're the pearl of the Mediterranean. Before anybody, the world looked at Lebanon and said, this is the bridge between East and West. This is the most amazing and resilient people in the world. How can we not get it together? So it's not the U.S. who's dealing with the Hezbollah. It's not the U.S. who's dictating to you what to do. We're saying, you want to enable it? We'll help.
Do you think they will?
No,
Okay,
please.
question is Sky News. Thank you.
Yes.
Layal Saad, Sky News Arabia. Following the agreement, the ceasefire agreement back in November, the U.S. failed to ensure Israel's commitment to the truth. What are the assurances you can offer this time to Lebanon? And are we possibly on the verge of a new war in case you are not able to take diplomatically what you want from Lebanon? And by you, I mean also your ally, Israel.
Wow, you packed that with so many things that I don't agree with.
Yeah, I'm a good journalist.
Yeah, you are. That was really good. It's
Thank you.
starting with failure, right? So, and thanks for the question. I understand what you're saying, but I don't take responsibility for any of that because it wasn't a U.S. failure. There was never a U.S. security guarantor for Israel. There was a mechanism set up. You have a task force of UNIFIL, who is a provider of enforcement technique. And what happened is the specificity in that cessation of hostility agreement just wasn't sufficient. So neither side trusted each other. There was no security guarantor. There's a mechanism that had no ability to correct a default. So the mistrust between Israel, Hezbollah, LAF, all of the pieces just never came together because everybody was in such a hurry to get a transaction done that the headlines of the agreement were not sufficient for the details of what happened. So what your government is doing now is filling in those details. I'm not smart enough to answer all of those questions.
I'm pretty sure you are.
But what we did is went back and said, let's take lessons from the past. What are lessons from the past? We had a Taif agreement. Taif agreement was done before you were born. I actually went back and took the Taif agreement and went through line by line. It's almost exactly what we're talking about today. Exactly what we're talking about today. I said, how could this happen again? All of the same ingredients. We had a cessation of hostility agreement. Why did it not work? Lessons learned again. So we're taking all those lessons learned, but the reason I really have hope that this can happen at this moment is what's happening around us. We didn't have the opportunities that we have now. My belief is Israel wants peace with Lebanon. They do. How to get there is a challenge. Hezbollah is a political party. It also has a militant aspect to it. Hezbollah needs to see that there's a future for them, that road is not harnessed just solely against them, and that there's an intersection of peace and prosperity for them also. I think the desire that's coming out of our combined headlines of agreement is all that. So I don't think it's a failure of security guarantor. There was no security guarantor. I don't think the collapse of that agreement is the collapse of the interest in all parties wanting to make a deal, and on a regional basis of what happened in Iran, what's happening in Israel, what's happening in Syria. Syria is moving at Mach speed. Who could have ever imagined? Right? Did I answer that satisfactorily? Yes.
There is any link between the affair of the Hezbollah and the next negotiation between U.S. and Iran?
Zero. Are you asking, is there a connection between what we're doing here and the negotiation with Iran? No. The connection of what we're doing here is you. It's not the problem. Is not Iran. The problem is you cannot agree amongst yourselves. So we take the Sunnis, we take the Shias, we take the Maronites, we take the Druze, and you take the 150 sects within that. You have 19 different religions, and you start by saying we're religion first.
Mr. Barak, Mr. Barak,
But Lebanon doesn't need to abide by. Lebanon is hurrying, trying to get to a formulation of what they need that we then as America can usher. We brought with us today one of the senior people on the staff of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee for Senator Shaheen. Roy is here
Excuse me.
someplace.
How?
Here, let me finish a statement. And you know, part of Lebanese hospitality is calm down. Take a breath. I'm not going anywhere. I'm happy to answer these questions, but give me a break. I'm not the enemy. So the answer on all these things, the pieces of that puzzle are really in the hands of the Lebanese government, which is complicated, right? There's so many pieces of it. But until we get unanimity, there's nothing that America can do to usher that process through. That's all we're trying to do, is to usher it quickly while this region is recasting itself.
What is
how-
the difference, the first difference between American American approach and Lebanese approach or Lebanese response?
Well, it's a document. We had 15 points, which were all the things that you know. The Lebanese response was very responsible of some of the things that we missed, some of the clarifications of things that they feel that they need that are different from what we asked, but all within the ballpark of where we're trying to go. Is what's a resolution of all these things on a diplomatic basis, on an LAF basis, on a council of ministers basis? How do we blend all these? How do you bring back life to the South? How do you handle this issue with Israel? How do you get everybody to stand down and say, yes, we have trust and confidence, and there's some mechanism that's going to monitor this? How do you pay for it?
How and who will intervene if the Lebanese government fails to resolve the issue of Hezbollah's weapon?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
How and who will intervene if the Lebanese government fails to resolve the issue of Hezbollah weapon?
Well, I today there's nobody who's going to intervene or resolve it. Look, Hezbollah, is Hezbollah a political party in Lebanon? Anybody? So what, do you think America or France or Great Britain are going to come in and resolve a political party in a sovereign country? It's not going to happen. That's your problem. You figure it out.
What the Israeli side will give in return during this dialogue and this
Could you slow down and take the microphone, please? The world wants to hear what you're saying.
during this dialogue and this new era in the region, what the Israeli side will give in return to Lebanon?
I think both countries are trying to give the same thing. The notion of a stand down agreement, of the cessation of hostilities, and a road to peace. My honest feeling is the Israelis do not want war with Lebanon. They're not parasitic. They have no desire to take over Lebanon. They have respect for the same Levantine culture that we've all had. And it's been a nightmare on both sides for both countries. Everybody's tired of it. And you have an opportunity, thanks to the President of the United States, who had a heroic moment for Israel and what he did with Iran. So you have Israel at a moment where they're listening to say, what can we now do in return to show the world that we are patient, that we also have an interest in our neighborhood softening the effect of it. And I think they're sincere at that. So I think that's what's happening. But the problem is a little bit different, right? Why is Syria is amazing? Because Syria went from absolute chaos in an afternoon to hope of the world standing behind Syria and starting to rebuild it. Why? Because it started from zero. What's the difficulty with Lebanon is it's not starting from zero. So how can you be left behind? You can't be left behind. And Syria is not parasitic either. They're trying to rebuild. They don't have any of the things that you have.
And how accurate is the information saying that Syria and Israel, agreement between Syria and Israel is near?
The dialogue has started between Syria and Israel, just as the dialogue needs to be reinvented by Lebanon. So everybody is rushing to a new definition without going to saying, what was it in 67? What was it in 74? What was it in 93? What was the 82 agreement, right? All of these old agreements. What was UN 1707? All of these things have no bearing anymore. So everybody's rushing to try and get an understanding, a cessation of hostilities by agreeing on stand-down agreements. And that's happening at the pace that it needs to happen in Syria from a country who was at odds with Israel, just like Lebanon in the south. So it's a time. That's what I'm urging you to do, is put together the regrets of the past. You've all suffered enough. All families have been touched with the massacres of what have happened on both sides. It's time to end it, but we can't. America can't handle what's happening inside. We can help on the outside, but you all have to come to generosity of spirit yourselves. One more question.
One more question.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Barak, we have learned that amendments were added to the Lebanese response. What are these amendments, and what did you inform Mr. Aoun?
The amendments are in 7 pieces of paper that I have not read. So we went through it quickly. We spoke about them. After we've had an opportunity to review them and go through them, you'll have a response undoubtedly from our great ambassador who's sitting right here. I have no idea in detail what they are.
One last question. Is Lebanon missing the opportunity to capitalize on the regional changes, or do we still have the chance to take the vote?
So I'm going to give you a really honest answer, right? I have other things to do in my life. President Trump, for some reason, believes exactly what you're saying, that Lebanon still is the key to the region, can be the pearl of the Mediterranean, and graciously gave me the responsibility, not as a diplomat. You have one of the best diplomats in the world sitting here as an ambassador. I'm an event-driven diplomat. The event is, if Lebanon wants to do this, President Trump has sent us, along with Congress, and Congress is here. You know how the U.S. system works. The administration is on one side, Congress is usually on the other. You have both of us. So the opportunity is now, but it's really now. You can still be the leader. Look around you. Competitively, it was always that way. And we missed it one time, right? We were the Switzerland of the Middle East until Dubai, which had nothing. It had clock towers. Abu Dhabi had the money. And Dubai, by capitalizing, just like now, on an event, said, aha, the Lebanese are at odds with themselves. We can provide security. What's the number one thing to get funds back? We talk about a Bank Resolution Act. We talk about a GAP Act. We talk about a central bank. None of that's if you don't have security. Nobody's going to come here if you're at war with each other. It's just not going to happen. As good as the clubs are, as great as the restaurants are, as beautiful as the women are, as handsome as the men are. So come on, get with it. Now is the time. You have the President of the United States who will make it happen, who's strong on, you've seen what he's done. And he came out on national TV, television globally saying he sponsored Lebanon. So he's strong on courage, he's short on patience. Of course, well, I was hoping you would let me stay here instead of telling me that. Honestly, I'm so dedicated to this process. Your president, the prime minister, the speaker, all dedicated to the process. It needs all of you to support a theme of saying Lebanon first. So thank you.